Like and subscribe to our channel. 10,000 tons of Indian wheat aid reached Afghanistan, WFP. World Food Programme, WFP, announced that 10,000 metric tons of wheat aid from India has reached Afghanistan through Iran's Chabahar port to the western Herat province. WFP on Monday wrote on Twitter the donated wheat from India will be floured and distributed to needy families throughout Afghanistan. This is part of the 40,000 metric tons of wheat aid from India to Afghanistan announced in 2022. In March 2023, the Foreign Ministry of India announced that 20,000 metric tons of wheat will be transferred to Afghanistan via Iran's Chabahar port. Furthermore, it is stated the wheat aid will be distributed to needy Afghan families through the World Food Programme throughout Afghanistan. Months after the Taliban returned to power in Kabul in August 2021, India announced assistance of 50,000 metric tons of wheat to Afghan people as they were wrestling with a severe food crisis. Subsequently, the consignments were sent to Afghanistan using the land route through Pakistan. Islamabad had granted the transit facility after nearly months of discussions. Despite the late regime change in the country and the Taliban's return to power in 2021, India has maintained friendly relations with Afghanistan and has donated thousands of tons of wheat to the people of Afghanistan. More restrictions on Afghan women, beauty parlors are ordered to be banned. According to the Morals Ministry, the Taliban government in Afghanistan has ordered beauty salons to shut down within a month. This is the latest restriction on Afghan women's access to public spaces. The deadline for the closing of beauty parlors for women is 1 month, Muhammad Sadiq Akif, a spokesperson for the Ministry for the Prevention of Vice and Propagation of Virtue, said on Tuesday, referring to a ministry notice. The ministry has also ordered the Kabul municipality to bring the new decree of the Taliban leader into effect and cancel the licenses of women's beauty salons. Since the Taliban took over Afghanistan in August 2021, they barred girls and women from attending secondary high school. Subsequently, authorities prohibited women from attending universities last December. In the meantime, women have been banned from entering several public spaces, including gyms, parks and baths. Apart from these, the Taliban has banned women from working with humanitarian workers amid a dire humanitarian crisis in the country. The United Nations and other regional and international organizations have denounced the repressive policies and practices of the Taliban. After the Taliban were ousted from power in late 2001, only weeks after the 9/11 attacks on the United States, beauty parlors sprang up in Kabul and other Afghan cities. After the Taliban took control of Kabul, several remained open by concealing their signs and windows, providing some women work and serving their customers. Several organizations, including the UN, have warned the Taliban administration that restrictions on women are preventing their rule from gaining international legitimacy. Amid dire economic situation, WFP faces fund shortage in Afghanistan. World Food Programme, WFP, announced the organization has decreased aid levels to needy families due to a lack of funds, while some 28 million people in Afghanistan are in dire need of emergency aid. On Tuesday, WFP on Twitter wrote the UN agency has decreased the number of vulnerable families who received aid to 5 million, mainly due to fund shortages in Afghanistan. In 2023, it was estimated that around 15.3 million people are faced with serious food insecurity in the war-torn country, WFP had earlier announced. Previously, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Aid, OCHA, had stated vulnerable Afghan families who need immediate humanitarian aid has increased from 6.3 million people before the fall of the former government to 28.3 million people in 2023. According to OCHA findings, some 6 million people are faced with acute poverty, whereas WFP has announced that in October 2023, nearly 2.8 million people are plagued with emergency food insecurity. Meanwhile, some 3.2 million people suffer from malnutrition in Afghanistan. With the return of the Taliban to power in August 2021, the lack of employment opportunities and the ban on Afghan women to work for NGOs and international aid organizations are separate factors fueling the humanitarian crisis in the country. Taliban authorities have repeatedly refused the reports and statistics about the level of poverty in the country. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs of the Taliban, has recently accused the media and the West of exaggerating the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan.